Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Rigolini Report. I'm your host, Chris Rigolini, Director of Bands at the Highlands Ranch High School. Your joke of the day today is, what do you call a documentary about a trombone player? A slideshow! If you want to hear your joke said on The Rigolini Report, send it to me in a quick email. Today's episode is about the rise of the pageantry arts. What are the pageantry arts, you might ask? They include anything like marching band, winter percussion, or color guard. They of course started in our military band tradition, as many of our traditions did, when drums and fife corps and buglers and bagpipes were used to communicate across battlefields. The first time we see military groups coming together to perform for pure entertainment is during military tattoos. The word tattoo is interesting. It comes from the Dutch phrase do den tap toe, which means turn off the tap. They used to send trumpeters and drummers out into the town to play music to signal all of the bartenders to stop serving drinks to the military personnel and to have them return back to the barracks that evening. Military tattoos nowadays are used as ceremonial displays, perhaps for a military graduation or even the Queen's birthday. The most well-known military tattoo still operating today is held at Edinburgh Castle in Scotland. The Royal Edinburgh Military Tattoo is a modern interpretation of a traditional tattoo and was first held in its current form in 1950. Today's groups come from all over the world to compete for top honors and, of course, bragging rights. In this video that you're about to see, you're going to see the Massed Pipes and Drum Corps from the 2019 Royal Edinburgh Military Tattoo. Pipes, of course, refer to bagpipes, and a massed group means a group put together from many smaller groups. The different competing groups, actually. I hope you enjoy. Military tattoos are a display of musical artistry and military precision. It's incredible. Of course, from there we move on to college bands. You know from a previous episode that the first college band in the United States was the Notre Dame Band of the Fighting Irish. It was founded in 1845 and they played their first football game in 1887. But it's actually the University of Illinois Marching Band that is credited as performing the first halftime show. That happened in 1907. We've come a long way since then. Most college bands today create a new show for every home game, and they include members from all over the university, not just music majors. And they can range from anywhere around 200 to 400 members in their band. They compete in local competitions and exhibitions, but mostly they play at football games for bragging rights. Check out this video of a phenomenal marching band, the Ohio State Marching Band from 2013. They're playing their Hollywood Blockbuster show, and in this segment, you're going to see them create a dinosaur and walk it across the field. Enjoy.
Ohio State always comes out with the most creative drill design. Before every high school in America had their own band, local community bands formed at VFW halls, Boy Scout meetings, and churches around the country. One of those bands actually turned into a DCI corps, the Madison Scouts. They switched over to a drum and bugle corps in 1938, well before DCI was even founded. Speaking of which, DCI stands for Drum Corps International. It was established in 1971, and they crowned their first champion in 1972. That championship was held at the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater Stadium, and their first champion was the Anaheim Kingsmen, who are no longer around. It was founded when 13 different corps came together from the Midwest Combine, the Alliance Combine, and a few other corps, and they protested the current circuit's sponsorship and governing body. It happened to be that the VFW and the American Legion used to run those national competitions. They didn't like how it was being run, and they decided to form their own organization. Today, DCI has 45 competing corps, and they come from all over the nation, and really all over the world, to compete. And that includes the Blue Knights right here in Denver. DCI shows have turned into visual and musical experiences that take nearly a year to put together. They're at the highest level of marching and playing anywhere on the planet. Over the last couple of years, the style of the corps has evolved. They've gone from a military tradition that we saw in the 70s and even in the early 80s to more dance-like movements and use of heavy electronics and, of course, props on the field. A really great example of this is this clip from the ending of the Blue Coat show in 2014. The title of the show is Tilt. You'll notice that they've taken the field and they've created their own outline. They don't use the yard lines that are there for football, and they perform the entire show based off of this axis. They also use heavy electronics in this ending. They actually bend the pitch of the corps to create a really cool effect that I hope you'll enjoy. Check it out.
astonishing thing about all of those DCI corps is that everyone is under the age of 21. That's right, it's mostly high school and college students that make up these corps. Incredible. Another organization that we should mention is DCA, which stands for Drum Corps Associates. They're actually the nation's oldest continuously operating drum corps circuit. They were founded in 1964. They are mostly community or educational groups, kind of like how we have community orchestras. And there's no age limit, unlike DCI. So some players perform in DCI or in their college bands and then go to DCA as adults as part of a community group. Another great organization that has changed the face of the pageantry arts is WGI, which stands for Winter Guard International. Their founding actually has an interesting story. They're founded from color guards that used to compete at the DCI national events. It was kind of like a solo and ensemble festival. The guards would get together and perform for each other. Well, in 1977, they were forced to perform in a basement, and they didn't like that very much. So a couple of their founding members got together and they had their first season in 1978. Their first year, they were led by Lynn Lindstrom, who was voted in for a one-year term and ended up staying for the next 24 years. You might recognize that name. She's actually the late wife of George Lindstrom, who was the executive director of the Blue Knights back in the 80s. In 1992, they added percussionists to this WGI format, and they started with 6 groups back then. And in 2015, of course, we added WGI Winds, which allowed wind players to compete indoors during the winter season. Today, WGI has over 500 ensembles and 12,000 performers competing in their events nationwide. They're held in gymnasiums, and they have really become the benchmark for excellence in pageantry arts. Check out this video. WGI has changed the face of the pageantry arts. They've taken it to another level and opened the door for so many more performers to compete. Incredible work they're doing. Of course, we have our local CBA, which is Colorado Bandmasters Association competitions, and our nationwide Bands of America competitions that we as high school directors and students can compete in during the summer and into the fall. Well, that about wraps it up for our episode today. If you like the videos you've seen, you can view the full videos and a lot more in the description below. I've also put some links to some local WGI and DCI groups in the area. Couple of reminders, you can always contact me through my email, crigolini@dcsdk12.org. And don't forget to check those Google Classrooms for any updates or assignments coming out. Join us next time when I interview a special guest about their experience in the pageantry arts. Until then, happy practicing!